post something on Facebook, I'm joining the group, and after a while I'm like, okay, I like the transporting. I'm like, Steve, can you tag these people? He's like, well, I can tag them, but you can do that too. So I just wanted to keep doing more.
Michael, can you do something about that flashing?
So I don't coordinate as much as Gwen. I haven't jumped into that role, but
Do you need a new connector?
Okay, I think it was doing it last one, but I think we're okay now.
Okay, sorry.
so, no, that's okay. I just love animals. I love the transporting part. I do help the coordinators. I'm more interested in like behind the scenes work. Tagging people, I message people. I'm sure some people like, oh great, she's bothering me again. But just to get transports because they're transporting cats, dogs, roosters, chickens from a place of not being safe to a place of being safe, or adopters or rescues, or we need to take care of them and get to love them along the way.
I
Yes.
like chickens a lot.
Yes.
So, I lost a goat last winter, so I'm in the market for another goat.
Well,
Did
I
you
don't
know?
we'll chat about it. We'll breeze through and then we'll have Q&A. And you
I was just gonna ask, do you do large animals ever?
Yeah,
Larger animals.
Sometimes I had a couple goats on the transport, and they both were in crates, and they didn't have one accident from Title 12, so they were quiet, and they're out there. Sure.
Karen?
I'm Karen Kahn. I found transporting, I was Mrs. Davis County, and one of my staff sisters does this, and she told me about it. I'm like, what is that? How can I get involved? Because that's animals. Give me some puppy love. And so I started doing it, collecting crates here and there. Now I have a big room full of crates and supplies, a room totally dedicated to it. Also now getting an expedition so I can fit more crates in. It's really been a labor of love. So, and
I'm
I've
so
met
excited!
I've met so many incredible people. So this is really so much fun for me. I fit it in between meetings. So I work full time as in clinical research. I manage a grant program, research grant program globally for my company.
Yeah. And my name's Gwen, if you haven't caught that already. And I started doing transport about 2.5 years ago. Kind of weird. I was fostering and somebody needed me to meet transport to pick up, and I'm like, transport? What? And I contacted them, and they're like, yeah, this is how you transport. I'm like, awesome. And I got on, I started doing transport, and then Steve does a lot of the transport coordination. He started having some health issues. I was talking about getting out of it, and I said, you know what, whatever you need, because this is really important to me. And he goes, like, 3 weeks later, I'm on a chat, here's all the new transport coordinators, guys figure it out. And I'm like, what?
I remember that.
Yeah. So for about the last 1.5 years, I have been transport coordinating on the Idaho and Utah web pages with Raina and transporters like Karen. And we're moderators on those pages, and we just took over but started partnering with the Utah Transport Coordinator. I'm an admin on that page now too, because she's going back to vet school, and we didn't want to lose the page. So next slide, please, Michael.
Yeah. There we go.
All right, so we're going to kind of go over understanding how transport works. I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk a lot because I just kind of drug poor Raina and Karen into this. They're just amazing. How it works, what equipment you need, what does NPOG mean, what's NOPOG, planning a transport, safety, success stories, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. And then we can chat a lot. So we'll get through the slides and then do some chatting, because I don't think it'll take forever. Okay, next please. Oh, that's really hard to say.
The power of transportation to save lives.
Okay, this is big blue ball over the top of this, did not translate through.
It's dark on here too, so I think it's the computer.
All right, so go to the next slide.
Oh, that's better.
Life-saving transports to move animals to the next stages of life. This is one of my favorite rescuers in the entire world. He does, it's Cade. And Cade works with Wasatch Wanderers, and he does non-dog and cat rescue. Turtles, tortoises, ducks, geese, goats, pigs, you name it, he's out there doing it. I've watched him do body cam video of him chasing down ducks and Yeah, a lot of fun, and I
Master
figured,
Goose Wrestler.
yeah, he's amazing, and I decided to put him on here because he's one of my personal heroes in the Rescue Kingdom. So if you get on the Idaho page, find Cade and go find his page, and he moves me. He does amazing rescue.
Rescue's the ones you anything that need rescue.
Yeah, so right. So tell me what you think about transport. Saving lives. Speak up. Everybody's gonna get a chance on the panel
Oh, gotcha.
to comment on the slide. What's your favorite thing about transporting?
Just getting them to their safe place, really there, and you know, most of the time I'm creating them for safety because there's multiple dogs, usually, but sometimes there's cats and dogs, but most of the time I'm putting them in a crate, but on occasion I get a co-pilot, and a lot of times just getting to love on them and they're putting their head in your lap, and you just know that you're getting them to the next part of their life where they're gonna be adopted, and some of them have medical issues, they're gonna be feeling better, and it fills me up. I sat on the way home because there's usually an empty vehicle, but that is just something I look forward to. And haven't been doing as much. I don't get to foster, so this is the next best thing. Is to spend some time with them because there's too many dogs in the world, and so by transporting, you get to meet people. You meet up with people, and you end up getting the dogs moved on, and then you end up talking with them and catching up and sharing ideas and stories.
How about you, Karen? What's your favorite thing?
I really enjoy showing the dog that this is a good thing. They're scared. They're being bounced from car to rando strangers from a shelter, usually being kenneled. So I really try to show them a lot of love, and it's like that first, potentially their first time ever being told they're a good dog, and just loving on them like crazy. I squish up blankets for them in their crates and just showing them a ton of love because I get it back tenfold.
And my favorite thing about transporting is knowing that I'm helping somebody get on to their next stage of their life. We work hard to put these transports together. When you're the transporter and they're going from car to car, you may not realize what's behind the scenes, but really gets hours of work getting these organized. Mike, do you want to hit the next slide?
Yes.
So, mine says roles in transport. Let me go back. Okay, so we're going to talk about equipment that you need in transport. So let me tell you a quick story because I get to share first. First time I ever did transport, they said, we need you to drive to Twin Falls and you're going to be picking up 3 dogs. And I said, excellent. Show up there with no leashes, no bowls, no collars. I'm thinking they're just going to, have everything ready to go. I'm in my minivan. I don't know jack. I mean, I'm just there. I'm the body that's in the minivan driving. And I've got dogs and I didn't have crates. I didn't know what I'm doing. And they're like, where's your leash? Leash? No one told me to bring a leash. Well, what about water bowls? What about that? I'm like, they told me to come and bring my van and pick up some dogs. And since then, I have a car full of crates. I have leashes. I have lots of different stuff, but I'm a lightweight. I'm happy to tether dogs together in the back seat of my car and hope they all get along, and normally they do. I'm the kind of person who puts cat crates on the floorboards, and I fit 24 cat crates in my car and 3 dogs. In my Ioniq, this is not my van, in my Ioniq, if you open up the hatchback, I can fill that thing full, and I brought them all the way from Spanish Fork to Boise doing that, suffered a cat bite that took me to the ER and almost hospitalized me because I was trying to clean out a poopy cage. But we all got there. Rena, first transport experiences, what you like to bring?
My first experience, I think I went to the Wendell Animal Shelter for Friends Forever, and they were having me pick up a dog and take it to a foster in Idaho Falls, and I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, I have this harness, and they're like, that's not going to fit on that dog. That's not gonna, I'm pretty sure it was a pregnant mama, and I had to help her into the vehicle. It was my own. I drove the whole way. It wasn't, but I was like, immediately knew that was what I wanted to do. But I did bring a leash, but I saw Karen had her good
Yeah,
little.
they got their go bags, so
So
they're
I
gonna
grabbed
show you
mine.
what's in them.
Because I actually transported on my way over here, I picked up, a dog that was being under surrender to Paws and Boise, and then Gwen had me
Two
pick up the
cats?
cats. So I had 2 cat crates empty with, towels in each one of them. But I usually have water, and they usually try and have water bowls of various sizes. I just have recently invested in some for cats, because, cats and smaller ones, and usually you get canned cat food, because it provides moisture in food, because water just spills and can make a mess. I have doggy bags, because you wanna clean up messes after at transfer points, clean up messes, you don't wanna leave them. Cause then people will tell you, don't meet here to transfer your dogs, cause you're leaving a mess every time. Paper towels and assortment of, I've collected things, I didn't have all this to start with, but regular leashes, slip leashes, I have backup collars. Usually along the way, people are like, this dog's got a collar, this one doesn't. Oh, I've got collars, I'll bring them and put it on so that the next person has. But and all sorts, and puppy pads and gloves usually to clean up messes, so you're not, but just some certain things you need, and some of it you switch out depending on what you're transporting, whether it's goats or cats or ponies, dogs, different size dogs. But
Jeannie?
Sometimes the dogs have collars and they do stupid things like pull the D-rings off the collars.
oh,
And
you
you
don't
have
have to
to,
feed
and
them
you
too.
end up putting chain collars on them. I don't advocate using chain collars, but in a pinch, they're one way to get a hold of them.
Our new movement right now, just to give people an idea, we're trying to make transport safer. When we got on, here I am, I'm telling you, I fly by the seat of my pants, and I really do. You know, if I need to show up and get somebody, I get somebody. But I had a dog, there were 3 of us, we got to a spot, and this dog they put on the collar at a shelter, and they should have known to do it right. It was a flight risk dog, got it out of the car, and he started to back out of his collar, and I'm trying to give him slack, this close to backing out on Eagle Road, and he'd have been dead. And I flipped. I'm like, we're not doing this ever again. In fact, he overnighted at my house, and it took 2 of us to catch him because he was such a bad flight risk. We now are trying to make sure all the shelters and all the boarding places have these cheap martingale collars that we can make sure everybody has on them. I made sure Karen got some. I'll probably get you some, Jeannie. We're trying to make it as safe as we can. If you don't transport and you're interested in doing it, we're trying to make it safer, but not quite as regimented as many things.
What exactly is a martingale?
Oh, I have one.
Go ahead. Carry your.
Karen's
Go
got-
ahead.
I was looking for horses.
Same thing.
Oh.
This is a
Same concept, yeah.
martingale. Sorry, I have 2 person. These actually open. I forget their Ziploc. They're kind of like for horses, but they go around and then they do a choker kind of thing when they pull on them. And these ones that we get off Amazon, they run about $2.50 a piece. You can shrink them down, put them on. I buy them in boxes of 24. Every shelter has these now. If they don't come in with collars, you let me know and I'll make sure I have a chat with those shelters because they have them. What's in your go bag?
In addition to what Rena has, I got this one thing I was showing off earlier. Sometimes we get older dogs, have limited mobility, or they're so scared they won't jump up. This goes around them, and then it has handles and you can pull them up. I have literally almost broken like my back trying to get dogs up. This has been a lifesaver. Disinfectant spray. There's been some accidents, and I am such an OCD person that I'm cleaning everything. Treats, I have tethers. I've got, there's a funny story
Go ahead and tell it.
behind this. I don't have a lot of experience with cats, and I was doing a transport, and this wonderful, lovely lady thought that it would be so nice to put the cats in these gigantic crates to give them tons of room. Well, I have an SUV, not a big deal, but the people down the line, now mind you, we do leg at a time, we're driving cars. These gigantic crates were not going to fit in the cars going forward, so we had to transfer them. Well, 2 of the cats were very feral. One of them was okay with me putting it in the other crate, but the other one, latched on, scratched me up. I'm bleeding everywhere. Lodged itself underneath my seat. It took animal control sheriff guy, Julie, and my husband and I, poles going, it took us about an hour. So we
My
got
transport.
So we finally get the cats all settled. We finish our leg of the transport. I go to the ER. That same day, Gwen got these wonderful gloves ordered for me. They're like full on leather. They go up to my shoulders. I will never have that again. One of them got super infected. I sent you the picture. I was on another transport, and I'm like, I don't have time for this. So I just kind of squeezed out all the ickies and got alcohol pads and was cleaning it up. Like, we gotta be on it, So when I'm preparing for my transport, I look at what animals are there, what colors I might need if they don't already have them. I have my leashes based on the sizes of the dogs because I'm not going to have a gigantic leash for a Chihuahua. Like, it doesn't work, at least for me. Sometimes I have tethers because if it's a Great Dane, it's not going in any of my crates. So I have.
Do you have a tether in there that you can show
Yeah,
me
I
what it
have
looks
a
like?
couple of different types. So this one goes into the seatbelt, and this clips onto their collar, so they can't jump into the front seat with me. I've had a couple of them try, or all the way in the cargo area. Remember the 2 Pyrenees ate the seatbelt?
Yeah. Remember the one dog that went on the one dog that went on top of the crate?
Oh yeah, that was fun too.
That was it. I was like, huh?
God bless you, Chris.
Sometimes he's my co-pilot.
Sometimes
but,
I get to.
I really have to. I analyze what we need. I figure out the crate size, the crate configuration. All the crates get blankets. During Christmas, I usually gift a blanket to the dog because sometimes not all the transporters have blankets, and that's their it could be their Christmas gift. It could be their very first own thing. So it depends on kind of what I'm transporting, decides what I have. Everybody's got to have water. Even in the wintertime, you still want to give them water. Summertime, more importantly, sometimes in the summertime I have spray bottles with water to spray them down because it gets hot. And especially when we're waiting for our next legs, stuff happens. So you look at what is needed. Always have trash bags, paper towels, stuff to clean up because we call it Code Brown. These dogs are nervous and they get nervous bellies. And so sometimes they get sick. And let me tell you, that's a long leg to drive with that in your car. So you try to clean it up as much as you can.
Also, one of the things I found that works for a tether is, the choke chains? Take the choke chain that's this long and it's got the O-rings on either side. You attach a carabiner to either O-ring, wrap it around your headrest, and you hook it onto the dog. And it works as a really good metal, cheap tether. That's super easy. We have a guy here in the valley who makes tethers for us, and I'm trying to get them out and around to people. So those are really nice. Yeah. Yep, those are the ones they're making.
Yeah.
As far as the blankets go, Karen, for my birthday this last year, I worked with a group of ladies who makes quilts at the church.
Oh, nice.
And I looked at them, I said, listen, I can keep up with keeping collars on the dogs. I can keep up with keeping leashes on the dogs. PetSmart sells the dang things for $5 a piece. You're careful. Where I'm having trouble is keeping up with blankets on the dogs. Do you know that right now I have run through almost 40 blankets that these ladies have given me so I can send them on with the dogs?
I love
Nice.
that.
That's really cool.
The biggest question I got was, how did I not know this was going on? You know, it's my Underground Railroad for unwanted cats and dogs.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what I compare it to a lot of times, is an underground railroad that we're getting dogs to safety. Michael, you want to hit next slide? Okay,
Dogs.
I have people all the time ask about no paws on the ground. This is unvaccinated, especially puppies under 4 months old, that run a really high risk of getting parvo if their feet touch the ground. Most people probably know that parvovirus is a fecal oral thing. So a dog poops that has parvo, they clean it up, you don't even know it's there. Your dog walks through it and then licks themselves to clean it off, they've just caught parvo.
Or smells the ground where it's.
Or smells the ground, somehow gets in contact with it.
Oh, wow.
So it's really transmissible. So anything that doesn't have at least a vaccine, probably 2 is what we really like. Under 4 months old automatically becomes what is considered no paws on the ground. And the next slide shows, we have a transporter named Lynette. She's out of Pocatello. She sent me these pictures of her last no paws on the ground so I could use for the transport. You want to hit it?
She has got the neatest setup for those.
Okay, so what she does is she takes a tarp, she puts an X-Pen around it, and she puts puppy pads on the ground so that if they go and they pee or they poop on it, they're hitting the puppy pads. She puts the water in, she gives them a really good potty break because, you know, puppies under 4 months are not house trained. They're pooping in their crates. We don't want them wallowing in their feces. We don't want to drive with that. This is something that she does that I just absolutely love. I have a cheap shower curtain I got at the dollar store, and then I put puppy pads on it, and then I stand around it and make sure they stay one at a time on their puppy pads because I don't bring the X again because I suck. But Karen Kahan is on like the high end, everything's organized. Rain is really pretty organized too. I'm like, don't let that puppy off that bed!
That needs to be my next purchase, I think, because the one I have is too
And if you
big.
look around, you can get a lot of this stuff donated, crates and X-Pens. It's all the time on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. People are trying to get rid of stuff because they get them for their animals, and their animals outgrow them and they don't need
Have
them.
to play would work?
Watch the buy 3
There you
get
go.
4 free shoe
Pack and
sales.
play would work? If you put
Pack and
puppy
play.
plants
It might.
down and it,
It might.
those pop up like that.
Those
They do.
are a lot. Those are.
And they get given away a lot too once the babies outgrow pack and play. So.
Yes.
Yeah, pack and play.
What
Absolutely.
do you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
For no paws on the ground, Raina?
Well, I just remember a transport that had puppies, and they made a mess while they were in their crate, traveling from Idaho Falls to Dillon. So you're always meeting somebody else, and the person who was taking them actually she actually gave them each like a little bath before she put them into her vehicle so that they have a pretty fresh start. But I have a tarp and I put it in the back of my vehicle, and sometimes the puppies and dogs are in crates and you just transfer the crates depending if there's a flight list. But this time it's nice when you have puppies that are making messes to have a fresh crate for them to go into. But I had a tarp in the back of my vehicle because the seat was folded down and some puppy pads, and it's a good thing because while you're transferring them, they're doing their business, and then you're folding the tarp up and keeping it contained until you can get home and wash things or throw things away. So usually it's in my vehicle. I haven't done this before, but I think that's.
I'm so impressed with you guys. I'm always so impressed when I watch these transports. I'm like, yeah, okay, I pray they don't poop in the car, you know?
Well, if you do poop, it's solid.
And I got leather seats, so we just try to keep it out of the seat belts. No. What do you do for no paws on the ground, Karen?
So I normally, I do have a shower curtain, but I usually try to just feel bad because I don't have that set up. So if they make a mess,
I didn't
in my
bring it to
car,
feel bad, I just
no,
brought it
no,
as
no.
my
But
favorite
I
example.
I know that I know that I'm gonna have to clean up a mess, and I do bring a little pop-up crate with me
Yeah.
when I have no paws on the ground, so I can put them in the pop-up crate while if I have to do it sometimes I take more than one leg. Well, if I smell it, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop and clean up because I don't want to throw up while I'm driving. So I will actually put them in, temporarily clean up the mess, wipe them off. I usually have, washcloths
Wipes, yeah.
with water, and I'll wash them off. And these are like Costco, and I will actually throw them away a lot of times because it's just easier. And that's kind of what I
It's
do.
also safer,
Yes.
because if they do have parvo and
Good
you
point.
don't disinfect it properly, you'll pass it on to the next dog.
Good to know. Well,
Word to the wise,
I
you
do
need to
throw them away.
bleach. You need to bleach.
I do bleach
Bleach,
all
bleach,
whites,
bleach.
but so my washer, anytime I transport and I use blankets, I put it on, I have that sanitize cycle on my washer. I have the Lysol sanitizing liquid, and I have, the soap and everything, and it's super hot, and I run the dryer high. I don't care if it's shrink stuff, because they're just going in the crates, it's okay. And then I use Simple Green and Lysol on the crates, and I clean each and every time. Even if I have 2 transports in the same day, if I don't have time to clean them, I'll grab another crate. And then I'll clean it at the end of the day. I will never, ever, ever, ever use a dirty crate.
I'm the same way. I have a 50% Lysol solution that I will spray the crates down between uses. And my dog blankets that I use in the back of my Traverse, they go into the washer with double load of soap and 2 big handfuls of Lysol sanitizer. My washer does not have a sanitizer, but this is the best I can do.
Absolutely.
And the dryer with the heat will do a lot to kick those germs and kill them. All right, next one, Michael. Okay, so do we have a question?
Dang.
Now, are you talking puppies or are you talking all dogs?
Every single time I do because you don't know what they're
Who's
coming from. Yeah, in a shelter, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know if they have any sort of respiratory, upper respiratory that can spread. I have dogs at home. I don't want them giving it to my dogs either. So I clean my sheets. Why would I not, clean these for, for the dogs? It's just, and I'm also OCD.
Super important point too that she brought up. If you're transporting, please make sure your animals are vaccinated. You can do everything you can possibly do, and something gets on your pant leg or the bottom of your shoe, and you walk into your house with parvo on it, and you've got puppies that aren't vaccinated, all your puppies have parvo. So you really want to make sure the dogs you have at home are up to date on their vaccines, because nobody wants to kill their dog because they tried to help out with the transport, or have a $7,000 vet bill because you needed to save them from something.
And there's other diseases, but there's distemper and there's other stuff
Yeah.
too.
Right, we've done.
And adults are susceptible to these things as well, not as much as puppies, but they are, and
And we've done some transports. We try really, really hard to let people know if we're sending through something, but we've done parvo dogs.
Yep.
We've done distemper dogs. And some cats that have had some really bad upper respiratory infections that can't get, and so we do bring sick animals through. We try to keep them isolated. In fact, we do keep them isolated. Cats are constantly sick. We drape something over them when we go. But we try really hard. We've just brought to Blackfoot, it's been about a year, we brought a dog that had distemper. Some people up there, it was no longer most likely contagious. It had been several months, but we treated it as having distemper and transported it as if it was contagious. Because we didn't want anyone to catch that, you know, who wants distemper? So, so let me talk to you a little bit about planning a transport and kind of what goes on behind the scenes. First of all, everybody here ever seen Steve Webster's name? Anyone not seen Steve Webster's name? So Steve Webster started out, he was from Idaho Falls. He's from Idaho Falls. He lives in Butte now. And he started out doing transport because somebody said, oh yeah, we need to get this dog to Butte. He's like, well, I'm headed up there. He owned a junkyard in Idaho Falls. So he took the dog up, and then he took the dog up, and they took another dog up, and pretty soon he's like, this is really cool. And so he starts coordinating. He's an old biker dude, he's a mechanic, and I've never actually even met him. I'm really so sad about that. But eventually I will. So he took this on as his life. I'm not even kidding you. There's 7 of us doing what he used to do all by himself. I was on a transport one day, and what they do is they put you on a group chat on Facebook, and he writes in, Raina's going to be taking over this transport. My wife just passed away. That's the only thing he ever said about it. His wife had been on hospice for literally months, and he sat by her bedside as she passed away and put together the run sheet. And I just sobbed. I was like, oh my God, stop it. And that's what I said, whatever you need, you know, let's get this going. And, you know, he's out doing stuff now. We're pretty excited. He jumps in and helps us with things, and he tags people, but he kind of has his own mind.
And his little, when he gets angry, he does not mince words on Facebook.
And he's doing a lot better. So what he did, and what we do, Raina's one of the transport coordinators. There's a group of us. There's me, Raina, Julie, Tia sometimes, Aubrey, who works with me in Snark, Morgan Vasquez is here in Boise, and we have a new transport coordinator who's down in Beaver. She's in Beaver City, Utah. The other Julie Hernandez. We kind of keep track of what animals need transported from which shelters and where they're going. And we try to get a couple of dogs on transport. We try not to do one dog run out, but we try and do a couple of dogs on transport. And we're like, oh, you need to come from here and go to there. We either plan the end point or we plan start points is the same and try and group dogs together. I've been known to contact rescues and say, hey, we only have one dog on transport. Would you be interested in taking a second one? And sometimes they do, so we get extra dogs out. And we plan where they're going to go, and we have a set of stops like Salt Lake to Snowville to Twin Falls to Glens Ferry, because we're trying to move it back to Glens Ferry to Boise, or Vernal to Roosevelt to Heber City to Salt Lake to Ogden to Millette, Pocatello, Idaho Falls, Dillon, Butte, Norris, up into Montana. We go all the way up to Coeur d'Alene, yeah, and so we try to coordinate those. Aubrey, Julie, me, and the other Julie are now. We post them. Raina, tell them a little bit about what you do.
I don't do as much, but
She does tons.
I'm behind the scenes. You can tag people, but we find out with Facebook, not everybody sees a tag. So I start messaging people, and sometimes I get responses, sometimes I don't. A lot of times I'm like, if you're not okay with me sending you a message directly, please let me know. I don't want to be harassing you. I really care that these animals, they've got a rescue. They have a safe place to go. I really want to help get this filled. If it's in my area and I'm not working, I'll jump in and take them. Like, I'd almost rather transport than coordinate, just because of the.
You and me both, babe.
But Gwen, she was talking about Steve Webster, and he's like, thanks to Gwen and the rest of the coordinators, he feels like he can walk away from it and not have to worry if animals are going to get to safe places or whether they're going to lose their lives. So, I mean, it really is. I'd rather be behind the scenes.
Without Raina, our transports, and Steve still steps in and does a bunch of tagging and a bunch of
and he's got a whole team in Montana
contacting.
too.
Right, he's up in Montana and has, without those two, we would not fill these transports. I'll like, cause I work full time and I do rescue, and I'll post it and I'll get back on there and I'm like, who filled my whole transport? It's filled. Thank you, Raina. Thank you, Steve. I mean, and they go in do it.
And Gwen created a page, Facebook page that's called Transport Coordinator that a lot of us use, so that any one of us can go in, once we see someone's reading something, like, we can go and update that post, so it shows that it's filled, so it's not all on waiting for that one person when they get off work and they have to do everything else. So I like that, as a team coming together and helping each other out. We have a chat group and we're like, hey, I got that post made, but I need help filling it. And I have more time off than Gwen, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start tagging people, messaging people.
Then once we get the transport filled, whoever's coordinating puts together a group chat. And that's when we start getting the transporters in. They've already volunteered to take legs, and we break them up into these legs where the dogs transfer off. We try and keep them about an hour. Idaho Falls to Dillon, which both Raina and Jeannie do all the time, is a 2-hour thing. We've been trying to split it at Lima, but nobody likes to come down that far. So it's about 2 hours, 2 hours up, 2 hours back. We put together a group chat, and then we have people like Karen pop on and say, how big are they? How many crates do I need? What about this? And I'm like, so what are your concerns when you get on a group chat?
Well, what I need to know, because I am a planner, I'm a project manager by trade, so I literally have to figure out, okay, what crates do I need, all of that stuff. I need to know how big, just telling me that they're like 50 pounds, it's like, okay, well, is that a big 50 pounds? Just the picture is really difficult, so I need to know kind of what size crates to put in my car. Gwen and I've had a couple of instances where she's like, oh, it's a medium dog.
It's a res dog. It's got to be medium,
yeah,
Karen.
I get there, and this gigantic monster is walking up, and I'm like, oh, God.
It's a res dog. It's
You are
medium.
not going to fit in there. So I end up having to pivot quickly.
Sorry.
It's happened twice, so it's so
trying really hard. One right after the other. I felt so bad. It's a medium dog. Anything on the reservation is medium. I forgot it was an owned dog that they'd gotten from a breeder.
It was.
You can say
That's why I
medium-ish.
usually
Medium-ish.
carry tethers.
Medium-ish.
I
Yes,
carry
yes.
tethers. A lot of times I use the metal crates. They collapse back down. I put a blanket on top of it, put the tether on, and I let people know ahead of me. That's one thing I'm pretty good
You're
about.
excellent.
Is I'm usually like one of the earlier legs. If it starts in the Salt Lake area, I usually pick up the first one because it starts out at the daycare that I send my dog to. So it's an easy peasy one, and I just, by the way, this is a little bit bigger, and just pivot. Or this dog's a little cranky. Fair warning. Sometimes I've had to actually send crates through because the dogs aren't happy about moving from crate to crate, and it's a safety risk sometimes. I was telling somebody else, I've used older collars that clip as handles on metal crates, so you don't touch.
An excellent idea.
Yeah, right. It's a one we use for the icky collars that we don't use, and you just that way you're not, because you put your hands in the metal crates to lift them up and out. You leave your fingertips exposed to getting bit. Nobody wants you to go to the hospital, so I had to.
No.
Yeah, you get phone calls going, Gwen, does this look okay? Should I go to the hospital?
Yes.
So I try to really consider the people ahead of me. If I'm running a little early, which I usually do. I know. I'm usually running very early, so I have to let people know and slow down. Or if I am running late for whatever reason, I let everybody know so everybody's on the line. Because it affects, if one leg is late or early, it affects everybody down. And for me, I schedule these between meetings, so sometimes I'll actually, after the transport, I'm pulling over and having a meeting in my car. So, I imagine I'm not the only person with a life, so I want to give the same consideration to the people ahead of me.
One of the things I really, really appreciate about Karen and Raina, and we have another transporter in the same area named Karen.
Oh yeah, Karen, yeah.
That they will transport that. Sometimes I feel so freaking helpless. I put together this transport. I think it is a flawless transport. I think the dog's medium. I think that they're all friendly. I mean,
Medium-ish.
I call the shelters. What are these dogs like? Oh, they're medium. They're friendly. They get along with everybody. They're bitey. They're awful, and they're scared. They're on transport. They're having a really shitty day. And some of them, I'm happy to go everywhere, but I appreciate so much when a transport gets on and says, hey, this is really what this dog's like, Gwen. And I'm like, oh crap, could everybody just adjust? Or, hey, we've got these kittens and we need some cat food fed to them in Butte. Great, super, that is such helpful knowledge. So I really appreciate transporters who hop on there and give me extra feedback. Some people will be really quiet because they don't know what to say, but I appreciate the feedback.
I need to take better pictures during the transport so people can see the size of the crates I'm using and the size of the dog in the crate. I need to get better about that because sometimes it would help the people down the line.
So let's look at the roles of transport, and I don't have my glasses on, so I'm just going to read from the slide. So we got the coordinators, kind of what we talked about. We've got the drivers and the pilots, because we actually have a couple people in our network that will fly. Gina Bosco sometimes will go down to Brigham City. She's gone down and gotten dogs and helped us out. We had her go down to Twin and help us out. So we've got a few pilots that help us out with transports. The rescues and the shelter staff, if you are a rescue or a shelter staff, we like to know anything you know. You may have talked to the shelter and they've said, this dog is really bitey. We want to know that because then we're going to lock up the cage and just transfer them in crates and not risk our transporters getting bit. We love the communication. So we've got the shelters on the one end, we got the rescues on the other end. Sometimes they're communicating, sometimes we're the middleman. Extra information, we don't mind at all. Then we got fosters. We've got fosters all along the way. They may be at a foster home right after they leave the shelter. I also include in the fosters boarding facilities. Some of these transports, if you go from Vernal, Utah, or St. George, Utah, to Coeur d'Alene, you're looking at a 2-day drive. Fortunately, we've got backyard dog care in North Salt Lake. We've got Hannah and Hillary Bosch at Awesome Possum in Blackfoot. We have Diggs Playhouse and
Idaho Falls.
In Idaho Falls, Diggs Playhouse and AmeriPet will board for us. And we have some people along the way who will board. Dylan Beaverhead has offered to do stuff for us. We've even done overnights in Missoula when we're so close but yet so far. Windswept Kennels will sometimes board for us down in Twin Falls, and Emerald Street Kennels. If we're going up the back way to Coeur d'Alene through Boise, they'll oftentimes overnight. Boise's really nice though, because if I put up a thing and say we've got 6 dogs who need overnights, we have people jump up, and most of the time they get them. I live here, I can always take 4 or 5 dogs for an overnight if I have to. I prefer not to, but it wouldn't be the first time they'd overnighted at my house because, I got a half acre. My dogs are used to mayhem and mischief. So, and I currently in my house have 9 crates set up, so I can take an overnight if I need. Aubrey overnights, so we're pretty well there. And then volunteers. Some people can't transport. Some people can't physically do the transport. They can't foster dogs. They can't overnight. You know how much it costs to run a transport sometimes? Gas is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
We have a transport fund that's set up that Steve manages, and we pay drivers that need help paying for things out of it. So you can't transport, you can't foster, you can't be the end rescue. Send us some money. He manages it really well. He makes sure people who could drive if they had $30 for gas money, get their $30, and then they can go do the drive. If I take a transport down to Twin Falls, and back to Boise, which I don't do as much as I used to because I still do it though in a desperation. It's $40 in gas. That's just a donation that I do, but money's helpful getting drivers. Yes, Jeannie.
For me, now when I do my budgeting, I plan on one gas run or one run between Idaho Falls and Dillon a week
Mhm.
at 13 gallons, irregardless of how much the gas costs. It's 13 gallons.
So you're looking at $50-$60 there to go to Dillon and back.
But I can budget one run a week
Mhm.
and cover that. If I have to make 2 or 3, then yeah, I need help.
Right. We have a lot of our drivers are retired because they are in the age range where they can still help, but they're on some fixed incomes. They get this amount of money. They'd love to drive. They would love to get in the car and they would love to help us out. Could we help them out with gas? Of course we could. So we do have that. So if you are a volunteer, if you are just interested in animals, you just want to help, we have an entire gas fund that we go through, I'll bet close to $1,000 a month in funds to try and get these animals to safety. And we love donations. We love donations.
Can I add
Yes,
to
please.
the,
And this is through
so
Star.
sometimes there's,
No, I'll tell you about it.
I broke my wrist and I had surgery and everything. I still drove, but the transporters between the two legs did help me, and we all help each other. We can also double leash, which technically we probably should do on some of the larger dogs, but we can double leash. And so if you have two people that may not be the strongest in the world, you can handle most dogs with 2 people on 2 leashes. And so, you can't, if the thing holding you back is, I'm not strong enough to manage dogs, we got you. There's a lot of experienced transporters that would be happy to help.
I have 2 transporters in Twin Falls. They are in their 80s. They are little teeny tiny ladies, smaller than my mom out there. She's done transport too. That we physically move the dogs into their car, they drive, and the person at the next stop physically gets them out. But they were able to do the drive to help us out. So as far as funding, where the funding is, there is a fund site. I can get it for you. I should have put it on here. It's on the Idaho page up in the featured section. At the very end, there's we now have Venmo, PayPal, and you can send checks. And Steve's got those all listed on the Idaho page where funding can go to help with animals. And we've got some pretty regular donors who send us money. If it's running low, Steve will put something up that says, hey, we need help with funds. Lots of times people will pop up and they'll say, I can't drive a leg, but I'll donate $40 to gas. We're a community. We are probably on our transport coordinator page, we're at about 450 people. And we just all try and help each other out. We all have one goal, and it's getting these dogs out and getting them safe. Oops. Oh, sorry.
And cats.
And cats, oh yeah.
Yes.
I
ducks.
tons.
And hamsters.
And chicken, oh, rabbits. You might
Rabbits?
want, yeah, Katie takes rabbits.
I used to take, I'm not taking rabbits right now.
I have said, I said ducks or geese?
Ducks.
I've done turtles.
Yes,
Did
goats.
you bring it?
We've had quite a
I brought up at least 7 turtles.
And we got a
to
donkey from
Boise.
Danielle too.
Yep.
Just in time.
Mhm. I mean, we move animals. We move a lot of animals. Yes, there are professional transporters. We have moved rats and hamsters and guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Every time I hear one of those come on
Somebody came
transport, I'm like, oh, poor thing.
Yep, he helped with a rat.
Right before we came here, Montana Raptor Center put out a
Yeah,
request
funny.
to move all eagle.
Yep, I saw that one. Yeah, I mean, if we see it and we can jump
Right.
in and
My husband was so wanting to do that transport.
I know, and in that case, it would have been put in a crate and nobody opened
Of course,
it.
right.
But I mean, so it's safe.
would've taken
We try to
pictures,
make these safe. Yeah, we've moved everything: hamsters, snakes.
I don't think we've done
I
it.
will never volunteer for a snake one, just
What?
She'll be in a box, you won't
not a
even
chance,
notice.
not a chance.
No, she'd have a heart
And
attack.
me, as long as it's appropriately crated and it fits in my traverse, Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
We all have to draw the line somewhere.
I just wanted to add a couple of things that might be helpful for the transport agencies that are here. I'm a receiving shelter in Haley, and one of the things we tell, it helps us find volunteers that will repeat transport if there's less poop. So one of the things we do is if it's under 3 hours, we tell the relinquishing shelter or agency not to feed the animals
In the morning.
at all.
We do as well.
Yeah.
We tell them don't feed, and even the puppies. And I know some people are like, "Oh, we have to feed them."
No.
But we just found that volunteers, that was their biggest thing, is the poop, and they don't want it in their vehicles, and they don't like driving with the smell. But the other thing, I don't know if any of you use Rescue to clean, but it's what the veterinary clinic does. It's what we use in shelters. You can use it in your washing machine and in your laundry. And you don't need all those other things, you just need the Rescue.
Rescue's
And you
really
set
good.
it, you can spread it out on the kennels and you let it sit for like 10 minutes and it will kill everything. So then you don't have to do, there's different concentrations for mitigating different disease spreads, but so you have to read the bottle, but you go through a lot less of all the other stuff and it actually is sanitizing.
Rescue works really well.
Yeah.
For my
For
many,
crates and-
what?
Rescue.
It's called
It's called
Rescue.
Rescue. Yeah, it is, because
yeah,
our
it
shelter is on a septic
It
and
is.
we have it in our
Rescue
washing
is
machines and we use it
excellent.
in our drain.
Yeah.
And I'll add to that about not feeding them before transport. They actually, behaviorally, they are less stressed if they have an
Yeah.
empty stomach.
Well, and if
They
they're
just
not
need
sitting in
water.
their
Oh,
poop,
wow.
they're less
Yeah.
stressed.
Well, and I mean, they don't get car sick as easy,
Yeah.
they don't vomit, that it's just a lot easier on their systems if they don't have breakfast.
All that being said, if you're transporting little tiny kittens,
Oh,
do want to give them a little bit of
Yes,
food,
that's
and then the
right.
car stinks because you got moist food in there that they're eating, but the kittens do better.
Yeah.
We've actually had kittens pass away on transport
Dehydrate, yeah.
from dehydration because they were already sick to start with, and it was a rescue run, but
Always
Is
case
that
studies,
the one
yes.
that I was on? Oh, there was one that we weren't sure that the kittens were gonna all make it.
it might have been, but they didn't get on until twin. They were in bad shape before the thing. So it was trying to get them where they could get help.
Something else I wanted to add.
Mhm.
We're talking about people who want to drive but don't have the money, but there are people who want to drive who don't have crates. So we'll put a call out and I know people who wanted to drive and they don't have the crates. We'll loan crates, we'll pass crates along.
I
I have a
passed crates
storeroom
along.
full of them, if anybody needs crates, just.
And so
let me
that
know.
should hold people back to like,
Wow.
I probably have 30 crates at my house.
One of the things we've looked at doing
Yes, it
is
does.
setting up crate depots in each transfer city. We'd
good
really
idea.
like to do that, but
Oh,
we, again, that's a manpower thing. We're all, busy people get busier, but we're all maxed. We keep things going, but if anybody wants to be a crate coordinator, that's something we've looked at several times. We're all busy. We all know we're busy. We do the best we can. So that's a project we have on the line. How do you load your vehicle? Let me tell you how I load my vehicle. However they fit. When I had a minivan, I loaded all of mine up in crates. Everybody had a crate. It was really nice and tidy. When my engine seized and I wound up with a hatchback that really truly will hold 20 plus cat crates and a couple of dogs, I shove them in. But I'm strategic about it, and I kind of try and figure out what the dogs and cats just stack in crates. I love cats. I have many cats. Please don't think I'm a cat hater. But they're super easy to transport. You get in small crates and they stack up. I mean, I'm one of the rescues that pulls cats out of Utah because I try and get them here. Dogs can be a little bit more problematic. If they all get along, that's great. You got a bunch of unneutered males that you load into your car. Even if they're tethered, it's, somebody needs to be in the front seat. Someone might need to be in the hatchback.
My Traverse will hold two 36-inch crates and two 30-inch crates. And the last major run, I had 3 dogs that wouldn't get along with anybody.
Mhm.
I put one in a in the plastic crate, one in the wire crate, 36-inch wire crate, and I took, it's gonna laugh, I took bathroom leftovers for remodeling bathroom and put those between the crates.
I'll use crate pans. Like sometimes a dog
Crate
will like.
pans.
Oh, the trays in the bottom.
the
Yeah,
crates.
so
Crate
if they
pans.
like
Wow, that's a
damage
good idea.
one and maybe it gets a crack in or
Good
something,
idea.
I'll save those instead of throwing them away.
That's a
And I
great
will
idea.
use
That's
those
an
as crate
excellent idea.
dividers.
That's actually
I do
great.
that in my kennel too. So if I get a dog in that is just like, he just can't deal with his neighbors at all, I will just put a crate pan in between them and it solves all of it.
Mhm.
It just stops.
It's a story about Raina. We were
Huh.
we did not have a transporter. She talked her neighbor into doing it for us, and she spent a bunch of time showing her how to fit the crates in. I was so impressed, and then we wound up not doing the run. How do you load your dogs, Raina? Or cats, or whatever you're breeding?
The cats, I mean, I told Winston, I'm like, oh, there's some people behind the scenes on the floor, and there's some on the front seat on the floors, there's some on the front seat, but usually I like to have everybody in crates if I can, but oftentimes I have a co-pilot. And just because it's only usually me transporting, I don't usually, he doesn't go, I don't usually friends go. And sometimes you don't have the room for an extra person. I just don't want to have any excitement on the drive. I don't usually stack up a lot unless it's cat stuff because I want to make sure they're secure and never stacked and have the, I think some people will get bungees and also
Mhm.
thing that they ratchet down so that if you are stacking like crates, I haven't ever had to do that, but I
That's
had an
right.
excursion for a while that I could transport a ton of animals. I could have transported stacked up, but I just filled up that whole thing. It's kind of like a puzzle. If you can fit them in there snug, they're not moving anywhere. And that's how I like
Yeah, if you've ever
it's
seen
kind
one
of
of
a
those
fun thing
flights.
sometimes. When you get there, you're like, oh, this is what the dog really looks like.
Mhm.
You're like, okay, we're gonna be quick.
Crazy.
Or this one's coming in a crate, so I'm gonna take my fold up and put it somewhere. But this one needs to be crated, and this one doesn't. So each one's situations are different, but it's kind of a fun little challenge. As long as everybody's
It's Tetris.
Yep.
How about you,
I'm
Karen?
really good at Tetris.
Miss Karen,
My
Miss
husband
Karen
loves
loves Tetris, so.
I look at the dogs the night before, because they're really good about getting them, pictures and everything.
Making sure they're medium-ish.
Right.
Ish.
And I,
Ish.
set up the crates. I figure out exactly which way. I also have a contingency plan in my head should something not work. There's been times where I've had to. I've surprised myself on how many crates I've been able to get into my vehicles. Lots of stacking. In between, like I had the seats down and then kind of carrying over and kind of lodged between, crates and the back seat. And so everybody's like, they're not moving. I'm safety first. These animals are depending on me, so I'm not doing anything that's going to potentially harm them. But I get real creative. It's however, I'm saving lives. But I try to do it as safe as I can, but I am strategic about it.
So Karen lives just outside of Ogden, and one time she rented a utility van,
Yes.
filled the whole thing up, and did the whole drive all the way up to Missoula, Montana for us.
Chris was that he
Yeah, with the
went up there
Billings,
with
yeah.
it.
it was
Oh,
cool.
Billings, yeah, and then they went on
Billings,
their vacation.
Well, somewhat, but
We
yeah.
tried.
Somewhat,
I got
somewhat.
called
When you go
back.
to Yellowstone, I think.
Somewhat.
Well, I got called back on an emergency. My mom was in the ICU.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that was definitely a very
But
interesting
it was fun.
trip.
It was
Yes.
great to meet a bunch of people that I had. I got to meet Danielle from Dust in Time, and so I got to meet some of the people I've seen online on the run sheets, but I never got a chance to meet because I don't normally go much past either Snowville or Rupert or Malad. I don't usually go past Malad.
So transporting best practice, I'll just say this for the record, best practice, crate your animals. Tether them if you need to. I know there are transporters out there who'll transport animals loose in their car.
Mhm.
They jump on you while you're in the middle of driving and you're effed. You'll go off the road, you get in a dog fight somewhere. I know a few that'll put them out and they'll set them on their co-pilot's lap. use your best discretion, but I don't recommend that at all. I want everybody getting there safe and that, because it really sucks to find a new transporter when you've gone off the road, you're in the hospital. I mean, plus, I mean, I've known these people forever. Karen and I have lunch when we go to Salt Lake. Raina and I, chat all the time. We love you guys. Those of you who transport with us, we're a family. We're the transport family, so we want you all safe. We want to make sure you get home safely. Next slide, please, Michael. Communication. I mentioned we do Facebook Messenger. We also do people who don't do Facebook. We do cell phones. And then we do face-to-face communications. That's really important when you're transferring dogs from one to the next, that you pass on the information that you've learned from your leg of the transport. What do you like to pass on, Raina?
How did they ride? Were they a barker the whole way, or did they? I have some cats that rode over and hopping on for I don't know how many hours. They weren't talking. So that information, how they were to load into their crate or get out of their crate, and whether you needed to pass the dog and the crate along, or a lot of times cats will always be in their crates because cats can be a little.
Sleep artists.
But I've transported some cats with the chillest creatures ever, and they were just like moves that are just recurring the whole time out. Yeah, people didn't know loading and loading. Did they go to the bathroom last time? Did they drink any water? Did they need that next stop?
What about you, Karen?
Most recent, all of those things, but most recently, this dog would not stop barking. And I found, I tried different things, soft music, louder music. This one dog stopped barking when I started to sing along the radio, so I sang along the rest of the way. And and so I shared that info because I had this piercing barking was enough to drive me batty. So when I find something that calms one of the dogs down, I do try to share that with the next person because it does make it a little easier to get along.
And the end rescue appreciates that information as well, because that tells us the stress state of the animal while they're in transport, and it clues us in as to how we can help them once they arrive at our place. So we really appreciate the feedback from the drivers. I love it when they say, this dog is doing great, or this dog is having problems, and here it is. Sometimes the adopter might be also on the transport chat, and so always keep in mind that they're observing this, and they don't have the same understanding that we have, right? They don't have the same experience, and they might think that they're getting an animal that is not something that they can handle, whereas really they're just going through stress, and this is just, all of us know that this is just the way that it is, and it'll be better tomorrow, taking the proper steps and everything.
I do try to keep that in mind. I temper how I say things.
Yeah.
If something's major, I do directly call Gwen. Usually, you and I have had conversations when it's when something's up. And, but I keep it off the chat and I let her make that decision on how she wants to communicate something that may be off.
Yeah, I would say bite incidences would be at the top of the list for that. Because a lot of times, maybe that dog's just scared about the fifth person of the day reaching for that collar and dragging him out of the vehicle, shoving him into the next one. And so maybe they just react poorly, and maybe that's all it is, and maybe it's not. So there's a whole grading scale on bites that we all really need to learn to follow, but it's not done now. So, and a lot of bites are not serious. They're just not. And so we need to make that determination privately. So
no, that makes sense.
Okay, next slide, looking at your PowerPoint while Michael gets that figured out. Emergencies. If you have an emergency, make sure you have some emergency supplies. You want to have blankets. You want to have your cell phone. We get places where you don't have cell phone reception at all, though, so just keep that in mind. If there's a real emergency, the most important thing you can do after you guys are safe, you're not going to get hit at the side of the road, get a hold of your transport coordinator. I had some kittens going downhill on a transport. Nobody reached out to me. I didn't find out until after they passed. I'm not saying I could have done anything, but I know cats. and I might have been able to help in that situation. I had things that I probably could have suggested that they do. I didn't find out till they passed. I felt awful. They had called a vet, they had called a friend, they had called everybody but me. And truthfully, I know cats. I could have maybe, who knows? You know, God does his work. But I might have been able to help. So please reach out. Have you ever had an emergency situation and had to do something?
Luckily, I haven't. I just know that, like, even though you don't feed on transport, generally you might have a little, like, treat to get them.
I think it's your cord, Michael.
But,
What?
Your cord.
It's not my cord.
a charge phone and a charger and water for you and water for the animals, maybe food for you, food for the animals. Winter time driving can be a little,
Do you carry
I
food?
can't get that thing up anymore.
like IV or.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
no.
that cutaneous?
No,
And
I have
it's not
not learned how
charging.
to do that, but the
Did you know?
Hillary Wash and Black, I think would be, they take the,
I would definitely do that if I were transporting kittens.
yeah, but I don't.
Right,
take
but
trips for a lot, but I'm
It's
not
an
knowledgeable.
hour.
These guys don't know how to
Yeah.
do that, so
But
it's pretty, yeah, it's not something that I'd let a
They're
lot
so
of people
cute.
do.
Having just backups if we don't think you're gonna need, having it just in case you get delayed.
Do you know how to get to it from here, Mom?
Go to my
Oh.
Gmail.
In the winter
Click on
time,
my,
I
marker
always carry emergency
Yep,
blankets.
emergency blankets. Yep.
Up in the corner, and then switch it to me.
First aid kit. I have a roadside kit that I, especially in the winter time, I take more precautions than the summertime. During the summertime, I always make sure to have a ton of water with me, because if my car breaks down, I need to make sure that I can feed the animals, pool, me, pool. I have AAA. My new car is gonna have satellite, so I'm super excited about that. You know, just safety first.
We don't need Paramount, sorry. Looking at your paper, next thing is self-care. Transporting is so much work. We all, if you do transporting for like hundreds of transports a week, we actually have a couple of drivers who transport every single day of the week. They amaze me. I couldn't do it, but self-care is super important, that you recharge and make sure that you are taking care of yourself. I will let Raina and Karen tell you what they do to recharge.
Well, for me, so I have to set mental boundaries. Looking at that, so we're on that, a lot of these rescue pages, and there's a lot of stories. I know in my head, I can't save them all. It's impossible for me to personally save them all, but I take it my heart takes it very personally. And so I have to mentally say, okay, you saved how many already? And remind myself of that each and every time. And just love on the ones that I can, do what I can, and just, I try to support the transport coordinators, because I know they're hearing a lot more stories than I am. So I have to take care of my mental state more than anything. My physical state, it's like, yeah, well, that's not what, for me, that I need to do self-care for. It's more the mental part.
What about you, Raina?
Oh, I was saying, for me, I'm not transporting right now as much, just because I've been working more, but if there's an opportunity and I'm not working, and I'm jumping on it so that, because it fills my heart up to be able to help with the ones that have a safe place to go. And sometimes I do get frustrated, I'm like, and everybody has lives, and I'm like, these dogs have a safe place to go, or cats, or I'm like, that's why I don't feel too shy about reaching out to people, and most people are okay with it, and if they're not, I ask them to let me know. But that when I get home, I snuggle my puppies extra, just because I know that they're the lucky ones, because they have a safe place with it. And I can't take my dog for sure, so you don't have to, but I'm with Karen, like, you see a lot and you do as much as you can where you can. Everybody's got their role and everybody helps where they can if they can. Knowing that you're a part of a bigger team.
And I think it's really, really important to remember that we're all doing the best that we can. Every once in a while I'll get a message from Raina or Karen. They're like, I really, really want to do this and I would help if I could, but I've got this. I'm like, we have lives. We all need to do what we need to do. It's really important that we just give ourselves some grace because we really are doing the best that we can do.
How are we doing on time?
We've got about 10 minutes left. And we're back up here. Okay, self-care, success stories, favorite success story, anyone?
Can I share one?
Sure.
So we just rescued a Saint Bernard. He came out of, yes, St. George. His name was Blue. He was going to be euthanized on Monday. I got the word about him on like Thursday.
Is this the 4-month-old?
No, he was like a year and a half old. And so full-size Saint Bernard, smooth coat. He had a little bit of a history. It was a little bit sketchy. We just didn't know what we were dealing with. So solo transport, nobody likes to do those. But Saint Bernards are hard to transport otherwise because we just don't know if they're going to be reactive. So we prefer to do them alone, and if we can. Sometimes